bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịa zuru ike. Chukwu nna n'ụlọ gị ka na-akpọ gị, bịakwute ya, bịa zuru ike. Otito na-adịrị gị mgbe niile, bịakwute ya, bịa zuru ike. Bịa o, bịakwute ya.
Otito niile dịrị Chineke, ọbasi dị elu, Chukwu obi ọma, Chidi ebere, Olisa nwa amara, ka ụzọ anyị ọbụla niile bụrụ ihe, ka ihe niile a kpatụrụ aka bụrụ sọ mma, ka ụwa niile site n'ozi ọma anyị nke a nwụsa obi aṅụrị taa na ebighị ebi ọfọ yagazie ise. All praises to Chi the Creator, the Supreme Being, Chi the Good, Chi the Merciful, Chi the Magnificent, with grace. Let everywhere of our lives be light. Let all our acts be crowned with good. And may the world prosper from our ministry, now and forever. So let it be. Amen.
Ise yagazie. Dibia Ochuaja, imale. Ụtụtụ ọma.
Na, I say, mbọbụla mmadụ tere ụra, ịghọtala?
Yes.
So anyị tinyere chi abụọla, ngwa anyị ga. I know my tongue. I know my.
Mama for everyone, wherever you are. Day one, long life to you all. I'm your host, the Oke Dibia Ochuaja Dr. Uwa Onyioha Osimiri. And I would like to thank my co-host, Dibia Udee Onyioha, for that wonderful prayer. Udee, thank you for spearheading the initial discussion of this topic last week, because you did it on your own last week. So we want to all bring additional perspectives. So yes. I just want to thank you so very much.
My pleasure.
Let me start. Let me start by giving honors and respect to Divine Chineke. To my parents, Obaja Oby Onyioha, the spiritual head of Godian religion, Chiism. My mother, Noha Ngozi Onyioha, the noble Nde Ichie, honorable ancestors, all the universal RNC or graces of nature as ascribed by Chineke. May our journey each day be free of challenges. May no evil see us, and may our enemies be diverted to other focus. Welcome to today's episode of Chiism Live, where we delve into the pressing issues shaping our world today. In this episode, we are exploring a powerful movement, why Africa must rebuild Africa. It pleases me to welcome our guests in this discussion, Dibia Oby Onyioha Pearce. Dibia Oby Onyioha Pearce in Dewo.
Ndewo
Kao.
Dr. Pearce Kao. Welcome.
Kaniwo.
Hey. Oh, yeah.
We have Dibia Chiedozie supposed to be joining us at some point today, and Dr. Nobantu Ankoanda, who's also going to be joining us later on in this program. So welcome everyone. It is just wonderful to be here today. Welcome all of you. And we're going to have a very interesting discussion today. And our Dibias are going to have specific questions they're going to answer. And then afterwards, we're going to, comment on other people's presentations. And then you, as the audience, you have the opportunity to ask questions that we may answer for you. But before we go any further, please remember, if you came upon this page by accident, please subscribe. We're aiming to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this month. So you're going to be the one to help us. So please go ahead and share this video as well as subscribe to our channel. Dibia Obi Kawo, I have to pose this question to you as an anthropologist. As we look across the continent, we're seeing exciting things happening. It has to do with growth. It has to do with an understanding that if it's going to be, it's up to us. Africans are now beginning to look to themselves to solve their problems and not take nonsense, if I use that expression, from anyone else. It is time. They say the morning has to come. In spite of all of the challenges, the morning has to come. So we want to say, folks, get ready, because it's morning time. All over the Black world, it is morning time. We see a rising tide of leadership and activism, particularly among the Sahel leaders who are stepping forward to claim their rightful place in shaping their nation's futures. We haven't seen anything like this, like what we're seeing now. But what does it, Dibia Oby Pearce, tell us? What does this mean in the whole context of historical exploitation of Africa? What does it mean for us?
Well, the thing is, I mean, the exploitation of Africa has been widely discussed. I don't know of anyone who doesn't know now how much Africa has been exploited, And I mean, this started way from the 16th century, from the slave trade and all that, that enriched South America, North America, and Europe. So, and that's been going on till today, or till maybe 2 years ago, when some young man called Captain Traore decided Africa has had enough of this. Let's do something about it. And I find that quite exciting. And yes. Then because hitherto we've had this leadership crisis, in Africa. It started, of course, with the exploitation and draining of African resources, and then over time, when the exploitative rewards became global, and financial rewards were now embedded in foreign financial institutions, African leadership just went downhill from that. Yes. Because at that time, prior to that, I don't know if some Africans remember, I'm still young enough to remember when, before the dereliction of leadership, corruption was something limited to goats and yams and chickens that were brought to the backyard. Do you guys remember that? Some people from Africa remember that, when the bribe was given, please, could you find job for my brother? And, they will bring you some yams. And then even then, there used to be all this thing on TV, with somebody behind bars and a voice over that saying this could be used, a bribery. And what was the bribery? And all that. Can you imagine? When can we go back to that? When your bribery was just a couple of yams and a little goat. And so that was what it was then, until it became the Western exploitation moved up a gear. And what was that gear was when they then started tempting our leaders with these foreign rewards in the financial institutions, when they became the spider that said, come into my palace, said the spider to the fly, and dangling all these monies in front of them, So the African leader became the, or rather the foreign exploiter became the beautiful woman who tempted the undisciplined husband into adultery. So, and then you have the African. Then I don't know if you guys seen one of those cartoons when and the pretty woman with her long nails, enticing him, and there's the African leader dancing to all that, and they give him money and all that, and so he became what is, they went downhill from then on. They became what they are now. I mean, there are various reasons people have given for the fact that the African leader, has no there's no leadership in Africa. And one of them was the idea of the diversity of cultures that robbed them of a sense of nationalism, and so we have that as an excuse, for all that, but what we've seen very recently with Captain Traore is he's defied all that. For somehow among all that chaos, he's found a nationhood. He's found nationalism that now that the whole Africa seems to want to follow, So I find that all quite fascinating, and hopefully, with his leadership, I'm going to give room to other people to stop to make that point, but hopefully, he has started a movement that is not going to be pulled back now. The horse is out the gate now, and hopefully, other examples, other leaders could take his example and maybe change the trend.
We can't hear you, Ogele.
He has become quite a lightning rod. Go ahead. You wanted to add something else? Yeah.
No, I just wanted to stop there because I'll come later on, and give other people a chance to put their thoughts out.
Yes, indeed. Dibia Chiedozie is not here yet, so the specific question I have for him, but I'm going to ask Dibia Udee. The Sahel region has faced immense challenges with terrorism, food shortages, but it has now, you have more influential, if you will, at before, but now the Sahel has taken over. You have countries like Nigeria, South Africa, all the bigger countries, all the bigger nations that even have more resources than the Sahel, but they have taken over now. In spite of the immense challenges they had, now they've become the beacon of hope, where local leadership is beginning to resonate with the people. I mean, the people are rising up. There was a time I was reading where I guess that was propaganda, where they said, that the young people are rising up against Ibrahim Traore, and that obviously is not true, because the number of people who are rising up in support of him is just amazing. See, he's demanding, alongside all the other Sahel leaders, accountability and transparency, which is something we should be looking for. But Udee, why now? Why are they emphasizing this need for nations to harness their own resources for development? Why is that now so critical?
Well, I always said, I Uwa Onyioha, proponent of Godianism, Chiism. He said that you cannot hold the people at gunpoint that don't want to be held.
True.
Right? At some point, you have to get to that point. You know, during the struggle, you get to a point where you say, enough is enough. Even the Protestant movement, the Lutheran movement in Europe, got to a point where they said, enough is enough from corrupt Catholic Church, and they rose up. And it's amazing to me that Martin Luther survived all that stuff, you know, and the Lutheran movement started. I was listening to a lecture. It was in a class in the United States. I don't know, I can't remember. I think it's Harvard University. And the professor was teaching his class. It was about international business, economics, and stuff like that. And in this video, he said, we do everything, and when I say we, I mean the West, we do everything to keep sub-Saharan Africa impoverished. We need Africa impoverished for the economic prosperity of everyone else. And I am quoting, this is a quote, it's not my, understanding of what he said. And I'm going to say it again. We do everything to keep sub-Saharan Africa impoverished. We need Africa impoverished for the economic prosperity of everyone else, whether it's China, Europe, or the United States. Now, what does that tell you? We have a lot of Africans. I was in a conversation on Facebook. We were talking about Ibrahim Traore and the movement, and that is going on now, and how intoxicating it is. And a friend of mine talked about Ibrahim Traore was going to be killed very soon because he has no idea how to practice deft diplomacy. And I asked him, what do you mean deft diplomacy? When you're in a struggle, you don't need diplomacy. You need an iron will to say enough is enough. Because as long as you rely on diplomacy and hope that the person with the jackboots on your neck will maybe have a little humanity in them, cut you a little slack, and give you the same opportunity that they have. Now, Africa has resources, lots of it. With the resources in Africa, and when I talk about resources, I'm just not talking about the minerals in the ground. I'm talking about geography, and I'm talking about human resources. The scientists, the doctors, the architects, the engineers. We have it all. So when you talk about African resources, you are just not talking about the minerals in the ground. When they talk about keeping Africa impoverished, it's not just about that. It's also about the mind, the brain, that not only contributed to the opulence that the West enjoys right now, but actually built it. Most of the scientific discoveries that we enjoy today was discovered by Africans. Even cars that you drive right now, it wasn't Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford made affordable cars. You had black folks making cars in 1910. I mean, beautiful automobiles sold to the elite in America. Their clientele were people that had money in their pockets. Economically speaking, it depended on people that had money for you to sell a car. But Gerald Ford came in and said, you know what, you don't have to have a whole lot of money in your pocket. I'm going to make it simple. You don't have to have all the luxuries that these other cars have, but I'll get you from point A to point B. It's going to be affordable. Bam, next thing you know, the roads are littered with cars. Horses and buggies went out of style. And in the midst of all this, there were Africans involved. When the United States was suffering from, I think it was smallpox or something like that, back in the 18th century, there was a Ghanaian slave that found a cure for it based on African traditional medicine. Inoculation against smallpox. It was a black person. Even the drum in the dryer that we use to wash clothes. Open heart surgery. There is no area in human endeavor that people of African ancestry didn't make any contribution to.
Mm-hmm.
So while the propaganda promotes the idea that Africans are less than, that we're incapable of doing anything, history begs to differ.
Yes.
But I can say to you, thank God for technology, because technology does a lot of things. And one of the most important things that technology does is dissemination of information, and people that ordinarily wouldn't have information have it now. The educational system that was established in Africa by those that colonized us is directly responsible for how we think. They changed the way we think. They changed our educational system. We changed our heroes. We changed those people that we look up to. We changed our way of life. We changed our religion. We changed everything about the African. We were re-socialized. We were told that we were less than, and we accepted that. But thank God for information. All of a sudden, those people that are really the ones that will make this movement just explode all over the world are the young folks who always spend a whole lot of times on their cell phones, who are not subject to the same kind of education that we had when we were coming up, when our parents were coming up.
Yes.
The ability to go right into the internet and do some research instead of waiting for somebody to take them to the library, which almost is non-existent. How many public libraries do you see? Even before 1980, when I came here, how many? Maybe in a city you got one. That's it. But you come to Atlanta, you got libraries all over the place, so you don't need the internet to get information. But thank God for technology. The young folks, Ibrahim Traore, became so informed. And remember, Ibrahim went to university in Burkina Faso. He's an educated African person, so he's evidence that an African education, when spotlighted with a little bit of Pan-Africanism, can produce leaders of like Ibrahim Traore, who studied people like Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, and all these Pan-African leaders, Lumumba, that were trying to do things for the people of Africa. Okay?
Yes.
Every African, every person of African ancestry owe it to this movement to be involved, because this is not just about Mali. This is not just about Burkina Faso. It's not just about Niger. It's not just about Guinea. It's not just about every state in this world that has yearned for independence and have always wanted self-determination, which the West and China and everybody else is subjecting us to this torment is enjoying. So thank God for technology. I have a lot more to say, but I'm going to back up for just a little bit right now and give kudos to the young Africans that are really pushing for change. Will stop at nothing until victory is at hand.
Yes, they are not playing.
Yep.
The young people of Africa. You see, at some point, you have to fight your battles. You can't put it in the hands of others, because what others do, when you put it in their hands, they manipulate how much change will happen. But if you say, I did a show yesterday, I said, put your butt on the line. If you want something to happen, you have to take the chance. You have to take the heat. You have to be willing. And young people are willing now because it's their future. It's their future. And if they allow what happened in the past to continue to happen, their future will continue to be bleak. So it's really exciting. Thank you for sharing that stuff. And that's the fact that a lot of young people are in it. It's no longer the elders. It's not our responsibility alone. It is their responsibility, because they see that the future is bleak without their participation. So thank you for sharing those thoughts. Dibia Chiedozie, welcome. Welcome. I'm going to let this picture stay here for a little bit. And then I just want to ask Dibia, welcome. As I said, you sent me something that I found very fascinating when we're talking about what the leaders are doing. Everybody has said Ibrahim Traore. They've all emerged and they're part of the grassroots. You know, they're not just political leaders, they're part of the grassroots now. They symbolize a broader awakening among Africans. It's so exciting. Now, their advocacy for self-determination and resource control, pushing back against centuries of colonial legacy that linger still today, is really empowering the minds of the people. And like Dibia Udee said earlier, the young people are paying attention. They are achieving their objectives. But Dibia Chiedozie, how are they doing that? You sent me something that was very exciting about Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Do you want to share that with us today?
Yeah, I was just about to say that in the first instance, before I go, please, I apologize for everyone for coming on board late.
Yes.
I was actually in the office,
No
but
worries, no worries.
I had to struggle with some little internet here and there, and also do my prayers.
Yes.
So please forgive me. Now, what is on ground is not something that involves emotion.
Yes.
We should not be carried away by emotion. It is something of deep, sober reflection and a deep sense of history.
Yes.
And then we must, because our people say, if you do not know where the rain began to beat you, how would you know when the rain will stop beating you?
True.
So, like Dibia Ochuaja said, it's something that we have to now, exactly as what we're doing now, guide and guard the children.
Yes.
That's what we can do now. Provide direction for them. There's a whole lot of information out there, but this information we should also know is that we must bend this information in our own direction, for our own purpose, for our own future,
yes,
and for posterity of our unborn generation. So it's not an emotional thing. And what the Sahel states are doing is what they ought to do. And as I was saying, you will notice that they are able to do this because they are keen into a superpower that provides them the avalanche to do so. Because that superpower, that's the only way they could come in. So as we are talking about our togetherness, we must talk about being very swift in seizing the opportunity on ground to pursue self-reliance.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it's an opportunity, and you burn the iron when it is hottest.
Yes.
And we must not be afraid.
Yeah, thank you.
It is not. We must be bold, and we must not begin to beg to live our lives the way we want it, which is what Traore has demonstrated several times. So, a superpower is providing an avalanche of how to come into Africa, because others have been exploiting, including China. In fact, Chinese exploitation is worse than Western exploitation. It's one that comes, Indian exploitation is no better. It's a subtle one coming in culturally and seizing us spiritually. So they are coming, they are on their disadvantage in their own side. Basically, Russia and then Germany, and they are coming in as if they are friends to Africa. They are coming in with genres telling us that Jesus Christ is white, the progenitors of Christianity is white. Very soon, they are going to tell us the progenitors of Islam. No, Jesus Christ is black. Rather, I'm sorry. The progenitors of Christianity are black. Very soon, they are going to tell us that the progenitors of Islam are black, and that Muhammad was black. Even here, they are cooking up a black pope for us.
Yeah, it's true. We run around here. I love it.
But there is so we must be very careful.
Yes.
That's why when my uncle sent me something about the Germans coming up with DNA to show that the ancient Jews were blacks and that the current Jews, the ancestors were black, I said, well, this is still the colonialist playing the narrative. Why would Germany be doing this? Germany will be doing that because it lost out in the battle for colonization and neocolonialism. So it's looking for a new avenue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Russia is doing the same. So it's coming in as the big brother. So we should seize on that opportunity. But this opportunity we must not slip. So what is going on now with the youth is the right thing to do. However, we must go beyond noise making.
Yes.
Because all the rallies by youths worldwide does not deter the evildoers.
Thank you.
It does not deter them.
Thank you.
So what we need to do is to tell Traore what he has to do to remain on ground. And what he has to do is to begin to remove attention from himself.
Yes.
How? He must now begin to identify strong characters in the ethnic groups in Burkina Faso and begin to recruit them through the grassroots into the government. He must first build what I call the authentic revolutionaries. That's what China did. That's what North Korea did. And so these people key into the ideology of Pan-Africanism for Burkina Faso first. So when they key into it, they are trained and retrained, and they are well equipped ideologically. They are well equipped in terms of self-reliance. Self-reliance is what we must pursue, because that is what is going to do the final dead blow to neocolonialism. Now, this self-reliance should not be built on the colonial structure. It must be built on a firm African foundation. So we have to go back to African spirituality. And to go back to African spirituality, that's why I say recruit very vibrant youths from all the cultures and ethnicities in Burkina Faso. Begin to train them to hand over to decentralized power to them from 10 years, 15 years from now. And then once they are there, they become the ones who begin to liberate the mind of the traditionalists, the autochthonous people. So the ideology must get to the grassroots and be well kitted to the schools. The last school, the last hamlet, it must be there. The kind of thing that Kim Il-sung did in North Korea, the Juche idea, even the dog in Burkina Faso must know about this ideology. So the people are made the stakeholders of the country. Now, when the people are made the stakeholders of the country, now each unit must be made strong in the sense that power begin to decentralize gradually to the peripheries.
That's right.
Especially economic power. Such that if you want to negotiate for gold, Burkina Faso's gold, you don't need to go to Ouagadougou, to Traore. You will go to the owners of the gold, the people whose gold is in their land. And they'll tell you it is their gold. And they have a percentage that they take. And they give a large chunk to Burkina Faso. And then regions that don't have natural resources, you begin to develop what they can rely on. So that when you decentralize the economy and hold to political power, you now begin to decentralize the political power and make sure that every unit is strong and connected to the center.
Yes.
The need for this is that in case anything happens to Traore, in case there will be other Traores or even people more formidable than Traore to come in. And if you have, say, for instance, 40 to 100 Traores, and all of them key into that ideology, if you take out one per year, it will take you 40 years to take all of them out. If you take out one per year, and there are 100 of them. If you take out one per year, it will take 100 years to take out all of them. By which time 2 generations have been born into the ideology. The ideology is now in the gene, in the DNA. It becomes difficult.
That's right.
For that particular society to be overthrown, because leadership is not one arrowhead. So it is not something to play diplomacy. It is something to go inside and pursue self-reliance. And as that is being done, the opportunity being provided, he must develop a strong military power.
Thank you.
Strong military power anchored on self-reliance.
Yes.
And it's not to rely on Russia, but to make sure that makes Burkina Faso's education formidable, so that brains will go to Burkina Faso. Those brains that are going up to Europe, to other parts, and that are not utilized, they come to Burkina Faso. He assembles them. He assembles a strong educational foundation of scientists who are researching.
Yes.
And then when you have that, nothing says, then it develops, he must read Sun Tzu inside out.
Yes.
Art of war. Spy system. There are 7 kinds of spies. And he must know how to use these spies very well.
Let me have you talk about that in a minute, because we have, I mean, this is fantastic. Thank you very much, because I'm going to come to you so you can continue. But I have a question for Dibia Onyioha. One of the things I wanted you to share, Dibia Chiedozie, because you sent that to me, and I thought it was just absolutely awesome. And that is the fact that the Sahel, all the presidents of the Sahel, and this is what's so important, is that it doesn't matter your size. You know, it's not your size that's the issue. It's what you have on the table, what you can do, even if it's one idea that you bring to the table that can be expanded and shared by all. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have launched 833 million confederal bank. Think about that. They're not asking Europeans to give them money for development. They're going now within, just like you were talking about, Dibia Chiedozie, internally. It's an internal thing. We can do this on our own. We don't need to be begging anymore. When you set up such structures, then people will start coming to you instead of you going to them. And all this international aid that is used, quite frankly, to keep us as beggar nations, that changes, because now such money, do you realize that Burkina Faso is feeding a lot of the Sahel?
Yeah.
When they took away US aid, he said, okay, that's all right. We'll feed our own people. And they're doing that. Yeah. Rice, beans, everything going to the Sahel. So it tells you it's not the size. It is what you can do at taking advantage of what is possible within the context of your nation. Whatever those resources are, use it. We can't be talking about other people's stuff and nobody knows about us. Most of all, we don't know about what our resources, what our capacity is. I have individuals that I ask, let's do this, let's do that. The first thing is, where's the money? Do you realize that you are a resource, not just money? Work with what you've got. That's what they're doing. This bank idea, Onyioha, what do you think about that? That is exciting for me, because what it does is, the way I look at it, it keeps the foreign interest at bay to some degree, because now the people are not going to be looking to foreign interest for their needs to develop businesses and whatever. They're looking to their own. They're looking to their own countries. Onyioha, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I find the whole thing quite fascinating, you know, the speed at which this young man is going in the development of his place. it's so fascinating. The speed of reform, the speed of structural
development,
project.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The infrastructural projects, the speed at which he's going, all this he achieved in 2 years. So he's just shown us what is possible. In fact, even I am surprised, as much as I was, as much as I'm an advocate for what we can do. I was looking at this as something that's going to happen in the future.
Yes.
It wasn't something I thought that could happen so now and so quickly.
Quickly.
What this meant, all the things, the agricultural projects, all the things is done, and of course that you're going to find the West not liking this at all. They're not going to like what's happening, because they want to keep in perpetual slavery, perpetually intellectually enslaved. I mean, it was interesting about how the French president said that Burkina Faso was not grateful. Excuse me, not grateful for what they did. Excuse me. I mean, do we go down history lane to find who should be grateful, to the other, So they're not going to let go. The West is not going to let go without a fight. You understand? And because Africa has almost all the world resources, mineral resources, with us. And here you go, you have, I don't know, I see Traore as that there's a thing, folk tale my mom used to tell us about the slave who every year the king will come and pull one tooth from his mouth, they use in sacrifice, until his son grew up, and he said to his father, until it was only one tooth that remained in his mouth. And he said to his father, you see this tooth? That's the tooth that will be in your mouth till you die. Nobody's going to take it. You know the one, I remember the story. So this young man now has become that man, that young man who said to Africa, you see this last tooth in your mouth, that's a tooth you go to your grave with. So they're not going to let go. The West not going to let go, because they have nothing. Even somebody said that if Africa, France didn't have Africa, it would actually become less than third world, so they know that. So they can't afford to let go. They'll fight it tooth and nail, but so long as we are determined, the people have woken up now. You can go and kill Traore all you want, you understand, but he's opened the way, he's opened our eyes, he's shown the young people what is possible, so you can't take it back. I mean, you can fight all you want, but it's not going to, you can kill him if you want, you can do all this you want, but it's not gonna, it's too late now. It really is too late, because the people are wise now. The people are ready now, sooner than I thought, so like I was saying, they're not gonna let go. Here are people who depend on you for their very existence. They're not gonna let go. They're not going to let go of this good thing they got, I mean, I was listening to, I think it was the president of Uganda, who was saying about how little they were paid for their gold, for their minerals, for their steel, which is top grade steel. They paid them something like, I've forgotten the figures now, something like, did he say $47 or something? And then they'll go to Europe and sell it for 2,000 or something to that effect. So I mean, look at the discrepancy. You buy it for peanuts and then you go and sell it, and then the people don't get anything. they don't get anything. And then you've deprived them, you've deprived the people of sustenance, you've deprived them of growth, economic growth. And then what do? Out of sheer hopelessness, they leave their country and then go to your country, and then you'll be sitting there going, oh, this bloody, pardon my French, these bloody immigrants, what are they doing here? Well, they're doing that there because you've taken all they got and taken it to your place. So now they're in search of it. In some ways, they're in search of that thing that you took. And then it's, oh, they should go back. Yes, go back to my place. Yes, I'll go back if you just let me alone. If you let me live with my resources, let me develop my resources, then I'll leave you alone. It was this lady was saying, the Prime Minister of Italy, and she was saying, she was showing this picture of this little boy, who worked in the mines in Burkina Faso, and how little that boy made and the misery that boy lives. And now that little boy, when he grows up 15, 16, 17, there's a whole sense of hopelessness and helplessness around him. So what's he going to do? He's going to want to come to France, who took his gold. And then France is, bloody immigrant, get away. It's the immigrant situation is so easy to solve. Leave Africa alone. And there won't be anybody but you.
That's right.
That's right. Very simple. And going back to what Chiedozie, pardon me, said about him consolidating with stakeholders and all that. I believe he will do that. He will engage in the decentralization of control and power once he's solidly entrenched in his position. Because right now he's been threatened right, left, and center. So he's not really concentrating on that. He's just trying to get things done. And I'm sure that he will. He did offer at one point to actually go, and his people said no. So he would eventually, I believe, the kind of young man I think he is, he would eventually head that way. So, but as far as the exploitation, it's not exploitation of them letting go. They're going to fight it, but I'm just so hopeful that now that the captain has opened the eyes of Africans, we now can see what is possible.
Yes.
Which we didn't see before.
That's right.
Before it was just a vague thing, but now we can actually see the reality. It can happen.
It can happen.
Go, Africa, go.
Yes, yes, it's time. It is time. I want to share this, take a moment and share this. We are excited about workshops. Chies Mahadum, Chies University is going to be presenting these wonderful workshops, and it's at no cost to you. And we're asking you to go to chiesuniversity.org or chiesmahadum.org and go and register. These are exciting. Or everybody that's speaking today is going to be presenting a workshop. And here are the workshops. One is the Natural Theology Workshop Series. That one is May the 25th at 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. That I'll be presenting that. Go there and you register. Then Chies Education Workshop Series, that will be Dibia Udee. And that's May the 25th. As a matter of fact, all these workshops are on the same day. Then it's the 1 hour intervals. You can take all of them if you want, or you can just pick and choose which one you want to attend. But you don't want to miss this, because this is our way of introducing to you what we're going to be teaching at the university. Then, of course, you have African history. That will be Dibia Chiedozie. African AI as well. He's going to be, really honing in on that. And then, of course, Dibia Oby Pearce, Oby Onyioha Pearce. She's going to be talking about African leadership, not leadership, African leadership. You want to take advantage of this. And so for all of you who have not done so, go and do so May the 25th. It starts at 10 a.m. And that is natural theology, cheese education, African history, and African leadership, also African AI. So it's up to you. Don't say that we're not presenting you with opportunities to learn a little bit more about what the university is about. So please go right there, chiism.org. Go and register. I look forward to seeing all of you registered for this workshop. So now I've shared that with you. I'm hoping that all of you will register. Again, like I said, you don't have to register for just one. You can register for all of them. You can register it's every hour. So you can register for 2 if you want, or 3 or whatever. So you are all welcome. We look forward to you joining us. I'm going to play a little music for right now, and then we'll be right back and continue our conversation. Gentlemen and ladies, well, I'm a lady, so ladies, thank you for what you are presenting today. I'm really enjoying it. So we'll be right back.
Were obi nwayo, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Were obi dị mma, were obi nwayo, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Asị na mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ga-anụ ihe, ha ga-anụ ebe Chineke na-ajụ. Ọ bụ gịnị mere ume n'ụwa jere ibe ha iro, ebe ya bụ Chukwu kere ụwa dị mma. Were obi dị mma. Mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ha ga-anụ ihe, ha ga-anụ ebe Chineke na-ajụ. Ọ bụ gịnị mere ume n'ụwa jere ibe ha iro, ebe ya bụ Chukwu kere ụwa dị mma. Were obi nwayọọ na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke, were obi nwayọọ na-eto Chineke nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ha ga-ahụ ihe, ha ga-ahụ ihe ọma niile Chukwu kere. Ọ dịghị onye ọbụla Chukwu si na ọka ya mma, ọ dịghị onye ọbụla ka ibe ya mma. Were obi nwayọọ na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ha ga-ekwu eziokwu, ha ga-ekwede ihe kwuru mere eme. Ọ dịghị onye ọbụla okwu ya kacha ụtọ na ntị. Omenala anyị bụ eziokwu anyị. Were obi dị mma na-eto, were obi nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke, were obi dị nwayọọ na-eto Chineke nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ha ga-anụ ihe, ha ga-anụ ebe Chineke na-ajụ. Ọ bụ gịnị mere ume n'ụwa jere ibe ha iro, ebe ya bụ Chukwu kere ụwa dị mma. Were obi dị nwayọọ na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke, were obi dị nwayọọ na-eto Chineke nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke.
Yes, be kind. Your relationship with your world, your relationship with your fellow human beings, regardless of their religion. And you as African people, please extol your religion. Your spirituality is just as powerful as anyone else's. Remember, humanity and civilization began in Africa. And if that's the case, there's no way you can say that you're devoid of spirituality. So go back to the source. Investigate, research, and find out who you are. That's what we're trying to do here. That's what we're trying to share with you. Dibia Udee, there's something that I'm noticing as all these developments are happening. certainly we are the ones that Africans are promoting it. Some of these talk shows and African television, but the West is not really promoting or sharing what's happening. Let's talk about media representation. The way Africa is portrayed in Western media often fails to capture the continent's complexity and potential. What's going on in Africa, in the Sahel, all of Africa, is not really being shown. Well, that's why it's a good thing that Africans are doing it themselves. Instead of us waiting for other people to amplify our voices and our narratives, tell our story. I think we should be doing that. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Everything still, points to this lecture that I talked about, in the beginning of this segment, where, their strategy is simple. We do everything to keep sub-Saharan Africa impoverished. We need Africa impoverished for the economic prosperity of everyone else. So the strategy of non-exposure that we're experiencing with this great movement that is going on in the Sahel, it is not in their interest to spotlight it.
Yes.
We spotlight it.
That's right.
Self-reliance, self-dependence, we do everything. Everything. Media, as a matter of fact, Ibrahim Traore is one savvy son of a gun. He actually contacted Lamar, what's his name? Lamar, the guy that performed in the Super Bowl?
Oh, yes. Alexander, is it?
No, Lamar something. I'm very confident that Akachi is going to tell me who it is in a minute.
Lamar.
She's
I don't know where I pulled Alexander from.
But it's Lamar, whatever it is. They know he performed in the Super Bowl.
Kendrick
Lamar. There you go. DOC just put that down there. Kendrick Lamar. 50 cents. These are all part of the media push. You understand? And it reaches, for the most part, the young generations. And of course, you and I, we get on Facebook and we see, or we get on YouTube, we see all these talk shows, we see the videos, we see everything. We share it amongst ourselves. It is very important. And I'm going to stress this. It's very important that we concentrate on information being disseminated amongst people of African ancestry.
That's right.
That's what's important, that our people know what's going on in the world. That our people know that there's a brother, there are sisters in Burkina Faso and all these Sahel countries that have taken a stand. Get information out there, letting people know that it is possible. We've been through this before in different ways. In Nigeria, I remember, I think it was in 1920 something, I can't remember the specific time, when the colliery workers in Enugu, right?
Yes.
Had an uprising because they were not being paid any kind of livable wage. It's slavery.
Yes.
And they spoke out against it. Not in a violent way, but they spoke out, refused to work. What do you think happened to them? They murdered all of them. All 400 were executed.
Yes, they were.
So the West, China, Japan, all these countries, Russia, that rely on resources from Africa, mean us no good. Okay, the thief in the night, Russia is coming in with the troops and all that. Just like Dibia Chiedozie has, talked about. Military. The idea that you cannot defend yourself makes it almost impossible for you to fight in the long term. Japan, little old island of Japan, survived that war, even though they lost, had 2 bombs dropped on them. But they made war because they were militarily capable. Now, we could talk about how superior or inferior the equipments were, but they were able to do that. And America had to spend a lot of money, the West had to spend a lot of money to fight little old Japan. A strong military on the continent of Africa, individual armies for these different countries that I would rather address as states. But let's just go with the country bit. We must have strong military because in the end, Russia is not going to fight for you. Russia is only there to keep the West from making the kinds of violent moves that they want to make against Burkina Faso and the Sahel. To discourage the West from moving in too quickly. Because they, along with China, have interest in resources from Africa. So they will come in, the thief in the night, like they always do. They will convince you that they're on your side, that they will protect you. And so you depend on their military. And next thing you know, the same military will turn around, jump on you, and take what you have.
Yes.
Because of your inability to defend yourself. None of this is possible in the long term without a strong military on the continent of Africa by Africans to defend Africa against any foreign incursion. We have the right to do it, just like Europe has the right to defend their interests. Saudi Arabia has the right to defend their interests. The United States has the right to defend its interests. Japan, India, all these other countries have a right to defend their interests, protect their culture, protect their systems, their way of life. Why can't we do the same thing? Why is it that we're not worthy of the same respect accorded to everybody else, knowing that Africa feeds the world?
Yes.
All the resources. We not only feed the world, but we help the world with its scientific inventions.
Yes.
With everything that you see in Europe, Africa has something to do with it. Not only that, go to their museums.
Yes.
Lots of artifacts, billions of dollars worth of gold and stuff in their museums. Those artifacts should be in African museums. It's our stuff.
Yes.
Back to Africa. Everything that we do, from an educational system to the military, everything we do has to be straight up African. A judicial system. It doesn't have to be capitalism of the West or communism of Russia or socialism of Europe. We have communalism, the age-grade system of governance. It is a traditional African social economic system.
Yes.
And this is how we governed and ruled and took care of the interests of Africans before the Europeans came to Africa. We had a government. We had a medical system. We had scientists. We had doctors, we had architects, we had warriors, we had it all. We had a society that ruled, governed itself, was prosperous. We have a wall that nobody talks about that is almost 10,000 miles long, the Benin Wall. But we talk about what? The Great Walls of China. Millions or billions of dollars coming into the treasury of the Chinese government through tourism because of those walls. But we have walls in Africa, the Benin Walls, that is 9,000 years old and is older than the Great Wall of China. Who's talking about it? Those walls weren't built in one day.
Yes.
It took centuries to build those walls. And who talks about it? We have to talk about our own stuff, our contributions to civilized behavior.
Yes.
But
you know, Dibia Udee, staying on that particular focus, media, I just want to share this before we all go and add, comment on what each other have said, or rather have said. This is very important when you talk about how the media portrays Africa. We're always portrayed as crooks, 419, or our leaders are all always worse than the leaders of the West, But I want to play this video. Many of you have seen it. It's not a new one. Many of you have seen it by Minister Farrakhan and Mike Wallace. When Mike Wallace was talking about Nigeria in a very negative way as a corrupt nation, Farrakhan wasn't having it. He was not. So let me play this for those of you who haven't seen it. But if you've seen it, you know what I'm going with this. Let me see if I can. Okay.
Which is, if not the most corrupt nation in Africa, and it is, it could be the most corrupt nation in the world, Minister Farrakhan.
Oh, now, Mr. Wallace.
It is the most corrupt nation that I have ever covered. I've been there 25 years ago, and I've been there as recently as last year.
Fine. So what? 35 years old. That's what that nation is. Now, here's America, 226 years old. You love democracy, but there in Africa, you're trying to force these people into a system of government that you just have accepted. 30 years ago, black folk got the right to vote. You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are. You should be quiet and let those of us who know our people go there and help them get out of that condition. But America should keep her mouth shut wherever there's a corrupt regime.
You go to Nigeria, which is, if not the most corrupt nation in Africa.
Did you see that?
I see
It wasn't happening. But that's based on this is how Africa is presented. Very corrupt and all of that. Never focus on the good that we've done. And for a nation that does what it does to the world, Minister Farrakhan said, you need to be quiet. Don't do that. You know, and you know, I applauded that. You know, I mean, at some point, we need to not be shy to speak up for our people. Yes, there's corruption. Yes, but then where isn't it? I'm living in one, he said. I'm living in one. Yes, you did.
Yeah, I just want to add one quick thing. We must also be very careful being used by Western media to create a narrative that is negative without us even being aware of it. I am so happy that Farrakhan stood up to Mike Wallace. The attitude that Farrakhan had when speaking with Mike Wallace should be the same attitude that we should all have when we hear the West trying to bastardize Africans. Like Dibia Oby Onyioha Pearce, you know, had mentioned.
Yes.
If you go to Spain or you go to Portugal, Italy, one of those Mediterranean areas, there's always a boatload of Africans.
Yes.
Looking for a better life in Europe. Part of the strategy of the West to keep us impoverished. Remember, a lot of those people that are looking to get out of Africa, that get on those boats, that cross the Sahara, some of them have lawyers in there.
Yes.
They have engineers in there. Okay, they got doctors in there. They got businessmen in there who have decided to take a risk because their country is not livable, at least not to the extent of their professional qualifications. You can't get a job. Most people are doing the same kind of business. Mama put everywhere.
Yes.
Restaurant, I mean, similar low-end social type business, manufacturing. Yeah, right. So we must not fall for these narratives. And what are some of those narratives? Because this fight is just not about the military thing. It's just not about economic prowess. It's just not about creating jobs and all that. We have to have all those things because happy people are a little bit more attentive.
Yes.
But it's also about our psyche. It's also about courage.
Yes.
It's also about saying, I am what I am by the grace of the Almighty Chineke, Almighty God. And if you don't like it, that's your problem. Not mine, because I have a right to exist. Every human being has a right to exist because your existence is divine.
Yes.
You are here because Chineke mandated that. That's why you're here. Through the biological process that got you here. But you're a mandate. That's why you exist. So if you're a mandate and you exist, your mandate is divine. Their mandate is divine too. So you have as much right to exist as they do and as much right to defend yourself as they do.
Thank you.
No more turning the other cheek.
That's right.
That's
when you're in a playground, when you're dealing with a bully in a school, when you're in a playground and the bully hits you one time, right? And you turn around and walk away. What is it going to happen the next day? The bully is going to hit you again. And this time a little bit more forcefully, right? That you say, okay, you know, turn the other cheek. Tomorrow he'll just keep whipping you. When you get tired of being whipped, just like Ahain said, then maybe you should pick up a stick, for God's sake, and hit back. You know, you can't keep turning the other cheek or turning, literally. You can't just allow yourself to be hit and hit and hit, because there's no deterrence there. The person would. I have to go to Udee. Udee, I have to go to. Go ahead. I have to go to Dibia Oby Pearce. One more question, then I'll go to Dibia Chiedozie. Dibia Oby, as an anthropologist, have you seen anything in our history for revolution, for moving from the valley to the mountaintop? Have you seen anything like this? And I'm not just saying just in Africa, but even here in African American community, in the diaspora, have you seen anything like what's happening now? Is she with us?
She's probably having some connection issues.
Okay. How about you, Dibia Chiedozie? Have you seen anything in our past that rivals what you're seeing now? Or is you know what they say, when the ground shakes, right? You gotta jump. You gotta find somewhere to jump. Our world is shaking. They're telling us, go back to, you know, always saying, any country you go in the world, they say, go back to Africa. Go back to Africa. Go back to Africa. Okay, Africa said, okay, we are going back to Africa to fix it up, so that when you don't need to keep chasing our people away from your land. Like Adon has said, you know, it used to be the reason why our people leave the continent is because you're taking our resources. We've got to survive, so people migrate to where they think they can survive. So that if we keep going and they keep telling us, go back, go back, go back, at some point, we're going to have to say, okay, let's fix it. Let's make it happen. Right? So now the question
it has been happening in our history. Don't forget the Haiti's revolution, led by Oliver Twist. So they irritated Guinea. It was the first time Black people would defeat an imperial army, the French army, which is why the whole Western world descended on Haiti and made sure that Haiti went down.
Yeah,
we can see whether it's on the side of corruption or it's on the side of revolution, there's nothing happening today that didn't happen before. We see the struggle for liberation of Africa, emancipation of Africa, and the struggle for what now culminated into what they call flag independence, nominal independence.
yes.
And those who really wanted to hold on the matter of independence squarely, the Nkrumahs, Patrice Lumumba, and others, they were forcefully removed. Amilcar Cabral, they were forcefully removed. In terms of corruption, it's not the first time. It started with Islam. Don't forget that in the ancient Mali and ancient Songaya, Mansa Kanka Musa was so corrupt that he had harem of women. And because of Islam, he exposed the world of Africa to the world, carried quantities of gold that are in trillions of dollars today to Mecca, and had to borrow money to return, only to repay. Askia the Great of Songaya did worse than Mansa Kanka Musa of Mali. So whether in terms of corruption or in terms of liberation and revolution, it has always happened. Which is why I say, if we do not address the matter of structure, then what happened before will happen again.
Happen again, yes.
So, because it's not an emotional thing. There's nothing Traoré is doing today that Nkrumah did not do, that Zik did not do, that Okpara did not do, that Awo did not do, that Patrice Lumumba did not do, Amilcar Cabral did not do, Ben Bella of Algeria did not do. But the question is, and that Paul Kagame of Rwanda has not attempted. But the problem is, why have we always failed? Because we have failed to address the problem of balkanization.
Mm-hmm.
We want to build a new Africa on a colonial platform. We forget that Burkina Faso is a colonial creation, it's a colonial estate. It is a French company. All colonial created states are companies and estates of the creators. And so when you take over, what you've done is that you have dislodged their own managers and made yourself a manager. So if you want to successfully rule, then you must dismantle their own structure. And dismantling their own structure is not noise making. It's not about us being passionate, supporting Traore, making noise about it. It's about us sitting with Traore and telling him how to dismantle the colonial structure spiritually, linguistically, economically, militarily, educationally, holistically.
Yes.
And that way, you go back to what our forefathers founded, which Dibia Ochuaja had mentioned, African communalism. And African communalism cannot run without African spirituality. You can't run African communalism on Christian doctrines, on Islamic doctrines, Indian doctrines. For instance, China, Buddhism is popular in China. As of the time that Mao came in, Buddhism was more popular in China than Confucianism, but Mao did not go for Buddhism because his source is in India, not China. He went for Chinese ancient, most ancient tradition, Taoism.
Taoism,
Forms of Taoism. The Lao Tzu Taoism of enclosure, enclose yourself. And then the Confucian Taoism of exploding. When you have enclosed yourself, you enclose yourself to build, and when you have built, you expose yourself to connect with the world. So they built on the two, and in the process, they brought in the doctrine of what happened with the Great Wall of China. They built the Great Wall of China because of invasion, but after building it, the Mongolians still attacked them. So they discovered that they were corrupt. So they had to bring in Confucianism, what they call moral rearmament. So all of these have to happen because essentially, if you look at the colonial structure, when it came in, the first thing it did was to destroy our own system holistically by making sure they replace our spirituality, by making sure they destroy ethnicity. And so today, our contemporary leaders are afraid of ethnicity. They see ethnicity as a threat. So much so that Samora Machel of Mozambique said, in the new Africa, no Mwembe, for instance, let me use Nigeria for example. In the new Africa, to build the new Africa, the Igbo, the Yoruba, the Igala, the Efik, and all the ethnicities, they must die for the new Africa to evolve. And now, when you do that, then what Farrakhan said is going to happen. How old is Nigeria now? 65. For God's sake, we are not 65. I, as an Igbo man, my history dates back 150,000 years ago. So I must get back there. We should not be afraid of this. So that is why I'm saying Traore must dismantle the colonial structure holistically. It is then not only Traore, like he has said, when they busted the French who were using his deputy, his very trusted friend, to PIFA information and wanted to overthrow him. And when he finally swooped on them, and they asked him, "You think you've won?" And he said, "I didn't win. Burkina Faso won." For Burkina Faso to keep winning, he must de-Balkanize. And by de-Balkanization means study the history of Burkina Faso, the communities, the ethnicities that make up Burkina Faso historically, spiritually, sociologically, psychologically, and begin to restructure them in tandem with contemporary challenges so that those ethnicities will cooperate. And the more the ethnicities cooperate and hold power and they cooperate, just like rivers enter into themselves. The more it becomes difficult to penetrate, and the more it becomes difficult to overthrow the system. Because the way it has been with Africa is one arrowhead. Remove Nkrumah, everything is destroyed. Remove Patrice Lumumba, everything is gone. Remove Amilcar Cabral, we're in disarray. We are making the same mistake again. Riding around Traore, instead of making noise about Traore, what we need to do is to go insular. The river is more deadly when it does not make a noise.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I talk about
in mattress, a burning flame announces that it's dangerous, but the woolen mattress is dangerous. It's the heat, the fire has eaten it up, and it only gives you one little dot that looks like a rust. And if you make the mistake of sleeping on it, you will never come out of it again. That is the strategy we need to adopt. We need to go insular and support Traore. We keep our mouth shut and then get some few people who are very experienced in noise making to make the noise. Not all of us. Like he has engaged the Lama guy. Okay? And those who know how to make the noise is a professional thing.
Yeah.
Let them keep the external world engaged. And the whole of us should get insular and begin to build like China did, like all Japan did, so that in 10 years, when we explode, when Burkina Faso explode, it will carry the whole of Africa along. That's my little point.
Well, that is not a little point. You just hit it on the head. It is so imperative. It's so imperative that all of us, you know, when we wake up every morning, we need to say, well, what am I going to do today for Africa? From wherever I am. Is it letter writing? Is it phone calls? What is it? What is it you're going to do as a contribution for this renaissance? It's not about putting down any countries. It's about building us up. And that's why I will be honest with you. I love the whole concept of Kwanzaa. I love it. It's not, with Kwanzaa, you're not reinventing the wheel. It's a matter of enacting the principles. You know, those principles are powerful. And what we're seeing right now is the enactment of the Kwanzaa principles. Umoja. We're all coming together everywhere. The Caribbeans, the United States and Africa. Umoja. Coming together. Idinotu. Working together. Because, you know, at some point you get tired of being told, go back home. As if home is a place of death. Home is a beautiful place. Just like those who are in America, they love America. And that's okay. Those who love him, who go to Britain, any Africa, any country in the world, those who are members of that society or community, they love their place. We do too. The fact that we're not necessarily living there does not mean we don't love it. You know, so idinotu, if we can put our minds together, this Pan-African movement, to say, hey, we are in this together. We're not based on, oh, you're Nigerian, you're Ghanaian, you're Ethiopian. You know, you are African, or you're American. You are African. That's your ancestry. We are one. Idinotu, together. That's Umoja. Kujichagulia. Self-determination. Isn't that what's happening? Udee? Isn't that what's happening in Burkina Faso? Not just Burkina Faso, like the Sahel, the whole Sahel, the Mali, and all those places. They are doing it. The rest of Africa need to wake up. We can't just put it on, we just can't put it on Burkina Faso, Mali, and all of those. We, Nigeria, where are you? Ghana is doing the same thing now. Kenya is coming up. Where are we? Every African nation needs to wake up. Because this is self-determination. Self-determination, that's where we are now. Kujichagulia. You know, helping ourselves. Because you cannot blame people for what they're doing to you when you allow it. Dibia Chiedozie, is that not true?
Yeah, that's true.
You can't complain that people are doing to you when you allow it. Ujima, what is that? Ujima, Collective work and responsibility. Everything needs collective work. It's not about money. And I think that's, unfortunately, that's a Eurocentric way of thinking. Everything is money. No, everything is not money. When I see some communities where there's dirt and trash and everywhere, what's wrong with your hand? What happened to the Aziza? Where's Aziza? Where's the broom? You do you remember the song? Ole honanya oga digide from baby baby. Ole honanya oga digide from baby. Ole honanya. When you come together and work, it's not about money. You're responsible for the aesthetics of your community. You're responsible for the well-being of your community. It doesn't have to be money. Some poor countries are so clean you can eat off the floor. Collective work and responsibility. Ujama. Buying from each other, selling to each other. This is what's happening in the Sahel. They are buying from each other, selling to each other, making money together. That's how you grow. But if you're always dependent on the outside world or outside forces for your good or lack thereof, you will not move forward. We will stay in the valley, but it's time for us to climb the mountaintop. That's where we belong. We belong up there, not in the bottom, not anymore. And like Dibia Chiedozie said, we need to change the mindset of our people, particularly our youth. We need to let them know your well-being starts with your spiritual well-being. Is that not true?
It's true, absolutely.
Your spiritual well-being. And if we, I remembered, I think I said this before Dibia Chiedozie started participating. I went to Nigeria and I saw beautiful shoes made by Nigerians, and they wouldn't sell it to me. They kept telling me, you don't want that one. You don't want that one. That one is no good. Here, this one was made in London. Huh? You have to sell. We have to buy our own things and sell our own things. I'm not kidding you. They refused to give me the shoes that were made in Nigeria.
You don't look like you didn't look like Nigerian.
This one is made in America. This one, I just came from America.
So they saw you as Americana, so they wanted to do it.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Because if they see me now, they know I'm Okoro from. So
they will give me that
So maybe when next you go, you look more important.
But that is true. That is true. That's your observation.
Ujama, buying from each other, promoting for each other. See, this is in Burkina Faso. You have to wear African attire.
Yes.
The children have to wear African clothing. What does that do? What it does, it creates a whole industry. People who create African clothing, people who manufacture African cloth. A whole new industry has been created. If you look at the videos, everybody surrounding Ibrahim Traoré, they wear African clothing. Not to say European clothing is not good. That's not the point. The point is, Ibumonye, who are you? You got to define yourself. And if we can buy from each other and sell to each other, we grow wealthy together. Nia, purpose. What is our purpose here? What is the purpose of every African? What is your purpose? To make the world better for each other, for ourselves. You know, Bill Cosby said something that was very fascinating. He said, for those who say I'm not African, don't use African language. Don't say I'm an African American. I'm American, all that stuff. He says, say that to Japanese, say that to a Chinese. When this ground shakes, they know where they're gonna go. They're going to China, they're going back to England, they're going back to Norway, they're going back to wherever. That's who they are. But you, when this ground shakes, you better look to Africa, because that's where you're from. That's where your ancestors came from. Those are the people that will be willing to welcome you back. to the most degree. Your purpose is to make the African world better. Every one of us. That's near. Then Kuumba. Can you, I'm going to let you speak something on Kuumba. Tell me what race of people or what ethnic, because ethnicity, that has contributed more to the world than African people. Tell me.
None. None. The closest that I could think about will be South America. You know, the Aztecs, all the gold that Cortez stole from South America, and all the murder that went on and all that kind of stuff. But beyond that, the Aztecs did not experience the kind of slavery that Africans experienced, right, for hundreds of years.
Yes.
So that the resources were just not about minerals, but also human capital. So based on that, I will surmise that Africans, you know, from the slave trade of the Arabs, right, that sold at least 40, enslaved over 40 million Africans, right? And that was before the Europeans even started what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So this targeting of Africa for its human capital, not just the mineral resources, has been going on. And that's the difference between us and them. We're stronger. You got melanin. You could stand a lot of crap, a lot of pain, better than anybody else.
Yeah.
Better than any other human. They came from us. So our capacity to adapt to harsh situations, as far as I'm concerned, based on history, is what set us apart. And so the concentration on human capital was extensive for Africans than anybody else. Because as far as I'm concerned, from the little I know about history, it was so economic with us, it wasn't even funny. And when I say it was economic with us, it wasn't about just selling slaves and somebody coming in, or selling African and somebody coming in and cleaning your house or anything.
Yes.
You were the economic engine of your enslaver. In the United States, without you, there was no cotton mills and cotton factories. There was no cotton trade, which was the economic instrument of the South. In South America, what was it? In the Caribbean, it was sugarcane, Haiti, and all that. You see? So I just think that because of the human side of things, the human capital, that's why Africans didn't end up like the Native Americans here in North America, where they didn't give a damn about killing off all the Native Americans because they had Africans over here. They could replace that with Africans. So Africans continue to survive and live because it's just not about the mineral, but also about the capacity of the African. Not only to contribute intellectually to the benefit of everybody else, but also our ability to survive harsh conditions. If you go to Africa, it's going on right now. These gold mines, except for the changes that has happened in Burkina Faso, maybe Mali. But if you go to the Congos, you go to South Africa, you go to, you know, all those places that produce gold and all these minerals that have to be mined. You have 6-year-olds mining that stuff. You got 8-year-olds, you got 10-year-olds in the mines. You have them dying and being buried right there.
Yes.
It's going on as we speak. So this exploitation and this physical capability of the African is not only ancient, but it continues till today. And you could see it in Africa and everywhere else all over the world. So by the grace of Chineke, we will be able to get all those brain drain victims, get their human resources back to Africa to help build it. Before I sign off, I just want to say something that I heard this morning, and it really had me upset. The Kenyan president had cancer, and he's been gone for 6 months. So he finally came back to Kenya. And the first thing he did, remember, the Kenyan president had cancer and had to go to Europe to get treated. And he was there for 6 months, and he's now back, supposedly cancer-free. And what do you think the president of Kenya did? The first thing he did, instead of building hospitals so that he doesn't have to take a trip to Europe to go get cured, or build a hospital so that Kenyans can have good medical access, this fool went and built one of the largest churches in Kenya. So there you have it. Just like Dibia Chiedozie said, and we always talk about it, there has to be this exorcism that needs to take place.
Yes.
The noise making and the cheering is all right. It's all great. The world knows what's going on. But working in silence where nobody else is seeing what's going on underneath. Address all these situations that we're dealing with, the mindset, okay? Explaining the canons of African social economic system, showing its benefits in comparison to Western systems of communism, socialism and capitalism. History has shown that all these systems have done nothing for the African, but exploit the African. We've not benefited from the Western democracy. We've not benefited from it. All it's done is breed corruption. Now you got so many people with their hands in the cookie jar, it's not even funny. Like Julius Nyerere said, I think it was in 1977, Africa is not ready for democracy. We need strong leadership. And then we need to go into the villages and speak with those people in the villages about African religion. Julius Nyerere said that.
And thank you, Dibia Udee. It's so important at this moment that we as a collective ask ourselves one very simple question. Is this going to be long lasting? And if it is, how so? What are we going to do? There's a call to action right now. And you don't have to live in Africa. It doesn't matter where you live, but you have to be a part of this new reawakening, because quite frankly, that's what it is. It's a reawakening. We're waking up. We must engage with African narratives. When we talk about Chiism, what are we talking about? I had somebody ask me the question, what is Chiism anyway? What is African religion? What is African spirituality? And I just said to them, it's the strongest place to be. What does that mean? There's an African proverb that says, Mona Chiso, I am one with the source. I am one with Chineke. If I am one with Chineke, that means I am standing right there with the power. I cannot be weak. If you're weak, it's not because you don't believe in Chineke. Because the greatest power in this world is that powerful spirit that's with you at all times. So wherever you go, you're walking with Chineke, Monachiso, wherever you go. And your ancestors, thousands of them. Many of us know our ancestors up to great-great-grandmother, great-great-grandfather, etc. But there are thousands of great ancestors behind us. But when you're told that your ancestors are bad, you don't believe there's anything good in them. You don't believe there's anything good in you. You don't believe there's any source fountain that you can tap into and empower yourself. And that is by design that other people are telling you that your ancestors is wrong. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but some people are all excited about the possibility that there will be a black pope. And my question is, to what end? What is that for?
Thank you.
What is a black pope going to do but promote what?
Their stuff.
Their stuff. It's not going to promote yours. You know, I think that the pope should reflect the people that the religion belongs to. Don't give it to one of us who will just come to our home and tear us up. Because let's be clear that a lot of the African artifacts, a lot of everything African that's that we're losing come from those senior religious leaders in other people's spiritual vineyards. They are the ones that condemn us. They're the ones that tell us that our ancestors are wrong. They're the ones that tell us that there's nothing good about us. And when you don't believe there's anything good about you, you don't aspire to be the greatest of who you are. You aspire to be the greatest of who they are. And somehow, when you achieve those accolades across the border, you think you've achieved. But if I ask you anything about African anything, you don't know. There's just no excitement. There's no knowledge. Dibia Chiedozie Okoro. Is there power? You have PhD. Is there power in having PhD if you don't know anything about your own people? That is not PhD. You're just a glorified servant, period.
Well, if you have a PhD and you don't know anything about your culture, yes, you have a PhD, but a reverse PhD known as pull him down.
There you go. Pull him down. There you go. I love it. That's it.
So when you have a PhD and because the thing there is that PhDs, if you look, when you are giving PhD, you wear a cap that makes you look like a Dibia. What it states is that you have graduated to become a wizard of other people's culture.
Yes.
So that's why when I got to that level and I had started my revolt, and by 1994 I decided where to go. Haven't started since 1989. So I decided I didn't celebrate, I didn't matriculate when I got my first degree, second degree, even PhD. I wasn't excited about it because I looked at my thesis and I concluded that all I have done is to celebrate Western ideologue. And even up to now, whenever I finish writing anything, like I'm doing African AI, why must I do African AI in English?
Yep.
So I'm crying in my spirit. I should do African AI in my language, and it becomes an in-house thing. And all of us from that side will know what we're talking about. We work at it like a family, and we enclose it. And when we expose it, it will become boom, an explosion, like a volcano. But I am forced to talk about African AI, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to derive all the genres from my linguistics, and I'm going to explain them in fine English. So what I've ended up doing with my PhD research, my postdoctoral research, professorial research, postdoctoral research, is that I am reporting to another civilization. That's why I said this is the narrative that Traore has to change.
Yes.
The Ziks, the Lumumbas, the Nkrumahs, the Amilcar Cabral, Oliver Tuvecher, they did not change this narrative.
True.
And whichever one of us want to change this narrative, we are stylishly shoved aside. Those who make the noise are promoted. They come to us and take the ideas. They caricature the ideas and they become world phenomenon. So this is the antics of scholarship going on right now. And so to wrap it up, the problem today is that if we do not debalkanize and restructure based on ethnicity, we are never going to use our linguistics to study.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Because, like I said, the colonial empire is such that we are headed together, and we must, because we are headed together, then we must look for a lingua franca. And that lingua franca will never be local. Because no local person will agree that your own language is better than mine.
Thank you.
So
Thank
it's a dream trying to say we are going to make it one day as Nigeria, as Ghana, as we we should look to Europe. Our colonizer for the Anglophone are the British. They don't have one country. They don't have one nation. They have one country, but not one nation. They are a confederation. England governs its affairs. It has its own money, economy, everything, judiciary. Same thing with Scotland. Even when we watch wrestling, WrestleMania, we don't hear Drew McIntyre of Britain, Gentleman Prince of Adam of Britain. What we are Gentleman Prince Adam of England.
Yep.
Drew McIntyre of Scotland. Seth Freaky Rollins of Ireland. And so on and so forth. That's what we hear. They are a confederation. Switzerland is a collegiate system. 6 ethnic groups, each one governs its affair. So it's either we find gently, we restructure. Traore has that opportunity to do it. Because now his people listen to him. And because they listen to him, if he calls them inside, and I said, this is the way to go, this is the way, they will listen. And they will put strong people that will make the ethnic group strong. And then give power back to the people. Colonialism took that away from them. If Ojukwu had done that after going to Aburi, perhaps Biafra would have succeeded. But he went to Aburi, talked about confederation. He came back to Biafra. He did not implement confederation. Even when Zik told him, okay, if you will not implement confederation, create states in Biafra so that you are going to create the states along path of ethnicity. Give each ethnicity its sense of belonging so that the war will be a cooperation. Each one will hold its end, having a feeling of freedom and control of resources. He didn't do it. 2 weeks or 1 week to war. Go and split the whole thing by creating Cross River State and River State. And the war was lost even before we began to fight it.
We can continue talking, but time is against us.
To round up, that is why I keep making the point that we have to address the point that colonization came with balkanization. What does it mean? Destruction of the foundation of African development. What is it? Ethnicity. Heading them together so that so the only way, so stampede. Then we throw to the center the worst kind of us. Yes. Insofar as it is the person that is there, where no matter how rotten he is, yes. But in the process, we are spoiled everything. So that is why this kind of thing will happen. So Traore has that opportunity now. Let him burn the iron when it is hot. After tomorrow, the narrative might change. He might find it a bit difficult.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I want to thank everybody who participated today. Akimi Bro, K.O. Miri, DOCC, Kachineke, JVST, let's see, Yumba, quite a number of people here. One Piece Speed. I want to thank all of you for joining us and continue to join us because we're going to continue to bring you very interesting topics, but we want you to remember to subscribe to our channel, Chiism Live, which is a part of the Cheese network. And I thank you so much for tuning in today. And join us next time as we explore more stories and more voices. We apologize that Oby could not come back. Dibia Oby Pearce could not come back because they were having a storm in Spain, so she lost her electricity. And then Dibia Dr. Nobantu Ankoanda was at church today, and she's trying to come in, but it's a little late now. So maybe she'll join us the next time. Until then, remember, Africa's future is in our hands. So don't think it's about other people. Remember that you are part of the solution, and we want you to continue to join us. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you, Dibia Udee Onyioha. Thank you, Dibia Chiedozie. Thank you, Dibia Oby. Although we lost you for a minute. Thank you for being here, and I'm always excited about our show, and I look forward to the next one. Remember, Chism Network. That's who we are. Thank you.
The dream team.
A wonderful
Let's go.
team. Yes.
The dream team.